Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about hybrid training and how to properly structure your program.
You're looking to get into hybrid training. I think there's a lot of information out there, and today we're going to kind of give you some guidelines and principles to follow. And the beauty of hybrid training is you can structure your program so many different ways depending on what your goal is. So we're going to give you some guidelines you can follow, but with that said, you also can kind of pivot and change your program depending on your goals or certain events that you're signing up for. So before we hop into today's podcast, if you guys are looking for more specific structure and customization to your training program, we want to let you know that we do offer online training. So that is something that we work with people in an online capacity to help structure their program, structure their nutrition, and take out all the guesswork. So if that's something that you are interested in learning more about, we have a form on our website that you can go fill out. You can put your goals, your current amount of times you're working out a week, some things that you want to focus on and get better at. And we can set up a time to talk more about how we can help. So I'll leave the link in the comments in the description below if you're watching on YouTube, or you can head over to fitgrindformula.com after you're done listening and go check out that form.
Yeah, so obviously if you're local, stop in at FitGrind.
That's right.
We have small group training and one-on-one training, but if you're not local, utilize the online training program. So let's chat about hybrid training and what exactly it is. We've talked about that before, but if you're new to the channel, we want to explain to you guys what exactly hybrid training is. So we're combining strength training along with cardio. And for us personally, we like to use running as our cardio, but you could ideally supplement this with anything that you would like. So biking, rowing, skiing, whatever that is, but just blending the two together and programming them to work together.
Yeah, it's so simple, but a lot of times we overcomplicate it. And strength and conditioning has been around forever, but hybrid training just takes that aspect and blends them together. And a lot of times, like you said, it's lifting and running. Mm-hmm. But we've talked about this on podcasts and YouTube videos and previous videos, is that you can do whatever conditioning and strength training you like. Just make sure that you're blending both in your program. You can have more of one, you can have more of the other, you can have equal balance. But hybrid training is the combination of strength and conditioning, and it's such a powerful way to train because you're not only building strength and building muscle and working on your body composition, but you're also improving your cardiovascular system. And for me, it's also helped shift my mindset away from really focusing on how I look in a mirror to more performance-based goals on how fast can I run a mile, how fast can I run 5 miles, how much weight can I lift, what can I do with my body. And I think that's been a very powerful change because, body dysmorphia is real. And if you're solely focusing on how you look and finding your happiness and how you look in a mirror, it takes time to see your body composition changes. And you have to find more with your fitness than just how you look, how you appear, and your self-worth as well. So that's something that performance-wise has been amazing, switching to this style of training over the last couple of years, but also psychologically has helped a lot with just body dysmorphic type issues and just training for more performance-based goals.
Yeah, amen to that. So hybrid training is such a hot, flashy term, but I actually know that it's been something that's been around forever. It just all of a sudden became this really big term that's used, and now everybody's like talking about it. Whereas, I'm an athlete, you were an athlete, we trained this way when we were in sports. Yeah. We implemented cardio, we implemented strength training, but with hybrid training, now we are trying to specifically program it and not just saying, oh, today I'm going to lift some weights and at the end I'm going to do a couple sprints. With this type of training, we are specifically saying on Tuesdays, I'm running X amount of miles. On Wednesdays, I'm specifically focusing on straining. And when you properly structure a program, you're going to see the best results.
Yep.
And I think that's what it really comes down to when we're talking about hybrid training, opposed to just working out and adding in some cardio here and some weight lifting here and sprinkling them both together.
Yeah, we're people that we like a program. That's what we do for people every day. Being trainers and gym owners, we structure programs, we structure workouts, we create structure for people. We're also that same way with our workout program, that we like to have structure because we know that if there's structure, we're going to be able to progress. It's not just like we're running around in circles, we're doing random workouts, we're not really seeing consistent progress, because you can be really consistent, but if you're consistently doing something different, or you're consistently doing the exact same thing and it's never any more than you've done in the past, you can make absolutely zero progress. And that's something that can be very frustrating for a lot of people. So I think that's the whole goal of our podcast today, is like create a lot of structure around how do you set up a program. Yes, it's going to look different for 50 different people, but there's some principles that you can apply to your program no matter what you're trying to do. But I do think that's such a powerful thing, because you can structure this so many different ways, and say that you get bored of doing a certain style of training, you can always switch and do a little bit different. Or say you're having a little bit too much emphasis of running and you want to do more strength training. That's something you can do, is you can start to shift one up, shift one down, have an equal balance, vice versa. And then that allows you to constantly be mentally stimulated in the gym and working towards your goals and being able to stay consistent. Because otherwise, if you're just getting burnt out and you're doing the same thing over and over again and you're getting tired of it, you're not going to put the same effort into it. You're not going to be as enthusiastic about it, and you're just not going to see good results.
Yeah, and when we say doing the same thing over and over again, it means grabbing the same dumbbells, grabbing the same weight. We do typically structure our programs as far as like doing the same exercises on, for 4 to 6 weeks, because you want to get stronger in those exercises, those movements. But if you just keep grabbing the 20 pounds every single time, you're not going to get progress there. But really want to specify that, because some people get really bored and say, well, I keep doing the same exact program. I've been doing it for 4 weeks now. Well, the reason that is because we want you to get stronger with those specific movements. And then we can switch up the program.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the beauty of strength training and hybrid training, is there can be so much variety. But you're exactly right. If in regards to strength training, and we can kind of talk about that in a second, about strength training, about conditioning, like what reps, how many sets, what specific exercises should you be doing, running, how far should you run, how fast should you run, all those types of things, and give some structure there. But I think the biggest thing with strength training is you have to overload in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people think that like, muscle confusion was a term, like 10 years ago that was really popular. And people thought that, you had to do a new workout every week or something like that. Like we're confusing the muscle. But ideally in a program, you want to stick, like you said, with the same exercises generally, or at least the big compound ones, for 4 to 6 weeks, get stronger at those and keep track of your weights. Okay, on squats, I did 3 sets at 100 pounds. Next week, I'm going to try and do 3 sets at 105 pounds, or whatever the exercise is. But those big compound movements, if you slowly get stronger over time, progressive overload is one of the most foundational things you can do to build muscle and keep placing an emphasis on your body to change and grow and build stronger. So that's a big thing you can do in your program, is just structure things. And that's what we try to provide with our clients, both in person and online, is structure around your big compound movements, around the workouts, and try to really emphasize getting stronger from week to week.
So we've talked a little bit about the strength training side, and I wanted to dip into more of the cardio side too. So a lot of times people can get bored of doing sprints, for instance. If sprinting gets boring to you, start adding in fartlek training, or go out on the track, or add in some sled pushes. Like there's so many ways to implement different sprint challenges opposed to just running on the treadmill. You can go on the track, like I said, you can go and do sled pushes, you can hop on the bike and do some bike sprints, some rowing sprints. Adding in different intervals and different cardio options is going to help spice that up. But ideally, we want to stick with doing the same thing for a specific amount of time so that we can see the progress in that specific cardio.
Yeah, especially if you're like looking to sign up for like an endurance event, like you want to sign up for a half marathon, or you want to sign up for a marathon, or you want to do a triathlon, or whatever it is that you're trying to sign up for. You need to create a lot of structure around that, and you can't just be throwing random runs together to achieve the results that you want to achieve, especially if you have a really specific time goal. Like, I want to finish a half marathon in this time. Then every workout you do is just a piece of the puzzle, And you still need to strength train whenever you're doing endurance events and you're signed up for those, but the emphasis is going to be more on running or the conditioning or whatever you're trying to do. But that's a great point is, we love to run, but we don't solely run for our cardio, especially we're not signed up for any sort of endurance event right now currently to where we have those goals of hitting a half marathon or whatever it is in a certain time. We love to structure conditioning workouts around rowing and skiing and biking and sprints on the treadmill or the track and just have a lot of variety. But we still need to make sure that we're trying to get better at, okay, we did 800 meter repeats last time. These were our times. This is what we have. We write it all down. And then, okay, next time we're going to try and come back and beat that, or we're going to try and progress it, or we're going to try and decrease the rest time to make it a little more cardiovascularly challenging, because your body's really good at acclimating to what you throw at it. And then if you just do the same thing, your body knows, okay, I have everything I need to get through this workout. I don't need to get better in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think those are good options to help incorporate on making them more challenging, but also making it less boring as far as weight training and cardio both go. But if you're somebody who just got into weight training and you're specifically a runner, you're going to want to bring the strength training portion in slowly. You're not going to want to go, okay, I typically am running 5 days a week and I'm ready to implement strength training. Your body is going to be sore. So keep in mind that this isn't like balls to the wall, implement the program that we're going to share with you and switch over the program right away. If you're doing one or the other of specifically just being a runner right now, or you're specifically just strength training, you need to make sure that you're easing into this type of training program.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be destroyed.
Yeah, for sure. And no matter if you're a runner or you have experienced strength training, the whole program should be revolved around your big compound movements. And we kind of talk about that next, like what exercises, what rep range, how many sets. You're going to want to choose at least 2 to 3 big compound movements on each strength training day. So say, for example, you're going to do an upper body day. Maybe you're going to do a push, 2 pulls, or maybe you're going to do 4 big compound movements, like 2 pushes and 2 pulls. So maybe you're going to do a bench press and an overhead press for your pushes, a pull-up and a heavy row for your pulls. You throw in some other accessory stuff. But those big compound movements, you're trying to focus on, okay, every week I'm going to try and get stronger. I'm going to try and add a rep here, a rep there, and try and train in that like 5 to 8, 5 to 10 rep range on those big compound movements. And that's where you're going to see a lot of bang for your buck. Whereas if you're just trying to do as many exercises as you possibly can, we were just actually talking about this before the podcast. Alyssa did a lower body workout, and she was like, that was the best leg workout I've done in like the last year, I think. And how many exercises did you do? You did
4 or 5.
Yeah, like 4 or 5.
And then abs at the end.
And some core. But the 4 or 5 exercises that you did for specifically lower body were heavy. They were intense. Sets were close to failure. And when you do that, you realize like I can put so much more effort into these like 4 to 8 exercises versus trying to do 20 different exercises on one day. You're going to have to sacrifice intensity. It has that inverse relationship. As intensity goes up, volume has to come down. As volume goes up, intensity has to come down. So you have to find that equal balance.
And not superset.
Yeah. And if you're solely looking to like build muscle, build strength, not everything has to be a superset. I think later in the workout it helps to superset, just get through things and be more efficient with time. But there's nothing that says every single workout, every single exercise has to be a superset. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You want to kind of talk about sets and reps, like for how many sets and reps you might do on a given workouts?
Yeah, with those compound movements early on in the workout, I'll either start with 3 or 4 sets and then do 6 to 8 reps, keeping those purely focusing on strength and doing 90 to almost 2 minutes of rest in between. And that is a huge piece of the puzzle also, because if you're not getting the adequate amount of rest, your muscles are going to fatigue quicker.
Yeah.
So if you're just trying to get through the workout, you want to get it over with, don't expect to see any strength progress, because your muscles fatigue so quickly, and there's a reason why we try to keep that rest break in between. Now, when you get into the supersetting, you can shorten those rest breaks a little bit because they are more efficient, more effective with that 60-second rest in between. And with those, I typically like to bump up the rep between that 10 to 12 rep range, and we're doing 3 to 4 sets again still there.
Yeah. That rest time is a huge overlooked piece of the puzzle where your muscles are going to fully recover at about 3 minutes. So I think studies show like 95 to 97% fully recovered at 3 minutes. I'm not saying you should take 3 minutes every single time, but if you're trying to get stronger, the beginning of your workout, those big compound movements, take your rest and make sure you're not still gasping for breath going into your next set. As you get later in the workout, like Alyssa mentioned, that's where you can start to superset, cut down the rest times, do some intensity techniques like drop sets or rest pause sets or partial reps, all sorts of stuff like that to kind of spice it up and add a little extra stimulus on your body. But yeah, sets, reps, rest times, like those are all things you can do to progress or regress the workout depending on what you need. Now, as far as conditioning, this can look so different for everybody, but we'll kind of talk about what we do as far as running, how we structure things, heart rates, distances, intensity, that type of stuff. Again, you can take whatever structure you're trying to do, maybe you like to swim or you like to bike, you can kind of implement the same things or pick and choose what you like and what you don't like, and create a program together. But let's kind of talk about what we do for running. Currently, right now, like I said, we're not training for any endurance event. So that looks different when we sign up for a half marathon or a marathon, stuff like that. The structure looks very different. But right now we can talk about what we're doing for our conditioning work.
Yeah. So actually, my structure is not very structured as far as the running because I'm trying to really focus on the strength right now with us not being in race preparation. I'm really just actually trying to get stronger. So I make sure I'm still getting in at least 1 to 2 days of running. But with the humidity and the heat, I can't go running in the morning because I'm home with kids and I can't leave the baby at home. And then in the evening, we've got baseball, sports. And so if I have to run outside, it's, like in between sessions, like 10 o'clock, sometimes 12 o'clock in the midst of the heat. So I'll go outside and attempt to get in what I can, but they're not as long as I would like them to be, unfortunately, right now. And then the other day of running, depending on how I'm feeling, I'll implement in sprints or just another run outside. Yeah, we're talking Nebraska humidity, 90 degrees. It's not the greatest time of the year to be running.
Yeah, it's a challenge for sure. But what we try to do is we try to have at least, our emphasis is more on strength training right now, coming off of 2 half marathons, at the end of 2023, start of 2024, trying to get back into building muscle, building strength. And not that we weren't strength training, but the emphasis I would say is the needle would be more towards strength training right now, but we're still trying to maintain a base of conditioning and training in this hybrid style. We're running 2 to 3 times a week. At least one is a longer run, and then at least one is more of a sprint repeat type workout. So working on higher heart rates, VO2 max type stuff. And if we get that third run in, it's going to be like a mid-distance, just moderate pace, aerobic base building run. And that's, the biggest thing that I think a lot of people the misconception is that every run has to be hard. And if you're training in this hybrid style and you're running every run as hard as you can and you're lifting as heavy as you can every strength training session, you are going to destroy yourself.
Or you're going to get stronger.
Yeah, you're never going to get stronger. You're going to overtrain, or you're going to get up injured, or you're going to start to get these nagging injuries all over the place. So that's something when we first started training this hybrid style is we had to learn that. And you're actually going to get better by doing a little bit of your running really hard and really high intensity, and then the majority of it doing like aerobic base building stuff. And it sounds so counterintuitive, but it's going to help you, 1, build an aerobic base. 2, it's going to help you be able to have the intensity and energy and effort that you want in your strength training sessions.
Yeah.
So those two things don't conflict. And I think that's what we ran into a lot of times when we first started training in this hybrid style a couple of years ago is we would run hard every run. We have that like athlete mentality of like, this run's got to be as hard as it can be. And okay, this next strength training session day, I got to hit failure on every set. And you start to realize like you can't have your foot on the gas at all times. It's got to be like, you can have a little bit of foot on the gas, but eventually you're going to run empty on the tank. So that's a big pointer that I want to make there, that you have to be smart with your program and you have to make sure that they are both blending together well. And if one is affecting the other too negatively, you need to take a step back and say, hey, where can I make some changes that I need to make? A lot of times it's the intensity, not running every single run as hard as you can, and doing some aerobic base building stuff.
Yeah, and with that being said too, proper supplementation, proper fueling strategies need to be implemented with that too, because we found that out throughout this process too. You know, when you're implementing running and strength training, your body is going to acquire more nutrients, and you need to be fueling it properly. It's going to be a higher demand, and especially in this heat and this humidity, supplementing with proper electrolytes, getting in enough hydration, bringing a gel when you're going for a long run and you need to fuel in between every 30 minutes, I would say, and then bringing a water bottle, fill that with either water or electrolytes on that run. And in between strength training sessions, you're getting a solid meal. Ideally, you don't want to strength train and run back to back, because that you want a meal in between that, unless you're going to drink some type of carb source in between. But proper fuel is 100% important.
Oh, it's crucial. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need to eat more food than you think to perform. Like, that's the whole thing I talked about earlier. When we started training this hybrid style, really helped me approach my nutrition and my fitness on a performance standpoint. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking to perform, you need to increase calories. You need to increase your carbs and probably your protein a little bit too, to where you're going to at least want 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
Yes.
And then, I mean, I would structure 45-50% of your 45 to 50% of your calories coming from carbs. Especially if you're training hard. Like, those carbs are going to be your best source of energy. They're not just you're not going to eat them and they're just going to turn to body fat. You're going to eat them. Your body's constantly breaking down carbs in your workout. So your body's like, hey, we need to store these carbs in the muscle in the form of glycogen, because they're constantly being used. They're constantly getting burned through. So don't be afraid to eat carbs. Now, when we're talking about carbs, it's good, healthy sources of carbs. So we're eating whole grain breads. We're eating potatoes, red potatoes, white potatoes, sweet potatoes, oatmeal, rice, fruits, veggies, whole grain pastas. Like, this isn't just like an excuse to just go eat whatever the heck you want. Like, you still have to eat healthy and structure your diet around whole food sources, but you do need to eat more food than you think you do to perform and train in this hybrid style.
Yeah, and it's like you mentioned in the beginning and just a little bit ago, when you eat to perform, you create a healthy relationship with food. There's no, oh, I have to eat this because I want to look like this. It's, I have to eat because if I want to go run a marathon, I have to fuel my body. And that is what food is meant for. If food is fuel, if food is not meant to be something that we think as like, if I eat that, I'm going to get fat, or if I eat that, I'll be skinny.
Good and bad, black and white.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's meant to be, okay, I need this meal because I need to be properly fueled. And if you experiment with this and you eat a cheeseburger and some French fries and then you go for a run, tell me how you feel after that. And then try eating some rice and some chicken and some avocado and some veggies, then go for a run after all of that digests, obviously. But you're going to feel such a difference by fueling your body with these nutrients dense foods and nutritious macronutrient meals, opposed to, you know, a greasy hamburger and French fries. It's just going to sit like a rock, and it's not going to give you energy. Like, that is what food is meant for. It's meant for performance, fuel, energy.
Yep. I can't agree more. That's a huge area of emphasis in our nutrition and in our clients' nutrition too. Like, I think people start to hybrid train and they're not taking electrolytes, and they're like, why the heck do we need electrolytes? And they start training like in a hybrid style for a week and like, God, I have headaches, I got brain fog, I got muscle cramps, what's going on? oh, you're eating really healthy food, but you're not getting enough sodium, potassium, magnesium. And that's why we came out with our electrolyte supplement, because there's a gap in our own training and our own nutrition. And that's kind of our whole purpose with our supplement line is, the whey protein powder, the electrolyte. We're coming out with our greens in the fall, is to fill in the cracks of our nutrition where we can't get enough protein from our diet, or it's really hard to get enough protein through your diet without supplementing with a protein powder. It's nearly impossible to get enough electrolytes for performance if you're eating really healthy foods. And then no one eats enough vegetables to get the amount of nutrients and micronutrients that they need. So that's where our green supplement really comes in, to fill in that crack of, we need to make sure that this is about health too. Our first goal should always come back to health. And, I want to be living this healthy lifestyle with you and our family late into our 80s, 90s, and I mean, who knows, maybe even hundreds, we'll see what that looks like. So it's all about health and the quality of years. And I think everything that we're doing right now is going to help pay off later in life. It's going to lead to less risk of diseases, less injury, more function, that a lot of people, they start to turn into very immobile humans where they can't function and they can't move and they can't do the things that they love. And I think that does a lot to just your spirit. So I think everything we're doing right now plays a huge role, more than just performance and more than just looks and more than just look how much weight I can lift or how fast I can run, but to your overall health and well-being.
Yeah. And so you can go outside and run around with your kids or your grandkids and go on walks and adventures with the kids and go out back, play baseball and run around and swim with kids and grandkids. And
I'm gonna be outside in the back hitting dingers with my great grandkids. That's my goal.
That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal in life, is to find a balance and live a healthy and successful life.
Yeah, that's right. So this is how we structure our hybrid program. And like you said, it can look so different for so many different people depending on your goal. That's why we offer online training too as well. If you're not local and you can't come and train with us here at the gym in Nebraska, we offer that online service. So if you're interested, like I said, the link is in the comments of the description below if you're watching on YouTube, or you can head over to fitgrindformula.com and click on the online training tab, fill out that form, and we can set up a time to talk more about your goals. But that's really our goal, is to help more people. And that's why we started this podcast. That's why we started this gym. And it's why we started this brand, is because we want to help more people live this healthy lifestyle. We want to help more people succeed and reach their fitness goals and feel the positive impact that fitness has on their life. And I know how positively it's impacted both of us and the people that we train and the people that we work with online. So we would just love to have more of an impact and more of a positive impact. So if you guys found anything helpful or have any comments or questions, let us know. We'd love to help out any way that we can.
Yep. And we'll see you guys in the next one.